everyone, it's Frankie-Lou. I'm coming to you today from the garden at the Grow To Gather Homestead, where I am doing a little bit of borage management today. Borage is an awesome companion plant and I use it every year and I love it, so do my bees, but it does require management. Now if you haven't seen it before, here it is here, and here's one I pulled here. It's most famous for these beautiful blue flowers that you see here. It's also called the star flower plant, and if you look, that's pretty obvious why it's called that. They're delicious. Okay, so if we're gonna talk, I'm gonna talk to you about the reasons why you would want to grow borage first, because there's so many, and then we'll talk a little bit about management, because it is a very bountiful plant and it's abundant, and sometimes it does need to be managed a bit. So first off, I'm a beekeeper. For me, it's a no-brainer to be planting this in my garden. Not only do my honeybees love it, but all the native bees and all the bumblebees do as well, and this place is constantly buzzing with bees. So if you want to have a plant that will attract bees to your garden, so next to sunflowers, this is probably one of the busiest plants in my garden for bees, and it makes delicious honey. My honey was absolutely wonderful last year, and I do equate that a lot to these borage flowers, because these borage flowers are absolutely delicious. Not only are they beautiful, and see that color, they're very close to cornflower in color. They're so sweet and so yummy, and they taste like cucumber. So I like to use them for my food as well. But first, let's talk about the bees. I like to have one borage plant in each of my 4x4 garden beds that are growing other things as well, because my goodness, this brings the pollinators in. If you have one of these in your tomato bed, very good for bringing the pollinators. Now, another thing it's good for, particularly with your tomatoes, is it actually repels the tomato hornworm. So if that's an issue where you are, then you might want to consider getting some borage, because it will A, help your garden be pollinated, and B, if you're growing tomatoes, it will also help to keep those hornworms away. Now, so that's the flowers. Things I like to do with the flowers, well, eat them fresh, because they are absolutely delicious. And honestly, you throw some of those into a salad, it's going to look absolutely beautiful. If you take them and freeze them into ice cubes, beautiful to put in a drink, especially something like lemonade, where that cool cucumbery flavor will translate so nicely. And another thing I like to do with it is dry it for teas. It's so beautiful in the teas, it adds a nice refreshing tone, so it's one of my most popular plants for that. Now, leaves. So I don't know if you can see this, but this is an extraordinarily fuzzy plant, okay? And a lot of folks like to eat the leaves in salad. Not me. I personally don't like a fuzzy salad. Okay, and actually the bigger leaves are so fuzzy, they're basically prickly. So but that doesn't mean I don't need to eat leaves. I just personally don't prefer them fresh. I love them steamed. I basically use them the same way you would spinach, and they're so yummy. They have a nice hearty flavor. Tons of iron in this, tons of potassium, vitamin C. It's really good for you, it tastes good. So these nice young leaves I'm going to be doing some steaming with, and some of these older ones that are a bit bigger and a little bit more prickly, I'm actually going to dry and include them in my dried powdered greens that I do. If you haven't seen that yet, look that video up. It's on drying your excess greens in your garden so you can use them all year long. And borage is one of the things I like to do that with. It loses a lot of its cucumbery flavor in that, but it still contains a lot of nutrition. So I like to sneak that in for my picky eaters. So there you go. Now, I know that you can eat the stalk, okay? Because if I break this open, you can hear the water in that, right? And you peel this off. You've got a really nice sort of crunchy thing, but it's that I'm afraid is a bit too much work for me when I consider all the other greens I have, and I actually like to give that to my my ducks and my chickens, because they really enjoy it on a hot summer day. When I'm culling a few of these plants, I throw that in and they enjoy it quite a bit. So I save that for them, the leaves for me, the flowers for me, and for the bees. Okay, so very useful plant for a lot of reasons. Now, how do you grow it? How do you manage it? Honestly, you plant your borage once, you're never going to have to plant borage again. Borage is a notorious self-seeder. I don't personally think of that as a problem. I just go around and I pluck any of the young ones that aren't where I want them to be, and I eat the leaves. There you go. You do want to take them out when they're growing in places that you don't want them to be. I actually have to spend some time, in this one came out of my greenhouse because, like I said, I like to have one in sort of a 4x4 bed. That's kind of a perfect ratio for me, one big borage plant, because as you can see, they're quite big, and if you have too many of these in there, they're going to cause a problem in that your tomatoes aren't going to be able to grow because there's just too many plants around there. So basically I've got about 20 borage plants going crazy in my greenhouse over there that I'm going to have to call out today, but I'm not worried about it because I'm going to actually make like a feta and borage leaf pie. That's going to be absolutely delicious. I'm going to dry all the extra cucumber things, and the chickens are going to be as happy as they can be because they're going to get a big treat. So yes, you do have to manage it. It will go nuts in your garden. I'm not going to lie to you. It is, I guess what you would say, is an invasive species. Some people do grow them in pots to keep it a little bit more contained, and I have done that. They don't get quite as big and beautiful. So if you're looking for something a little bit smaller but that will still bring in the bees, borage in a pot does do pretty good too. Okay, it's another favorite use of borage is my favorite little hen here. She loves hiding in it. When we're out in the garden, it's her favorite place to hide because it is such a nice, big, beautiful, shady plant. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you will give borage a try. Honestly, it probably, next to nasturtiums and radishes, is probably one of my most favorite companion plants because it's beautiful and everybody likes a pretty garden. It's edible, it's tasty, it tastes like cucumber, and who doesn't? My cucumbers aren't ready yet, but I still get to have cucumbers. And it's a pollinator friendly plant, and it repels hornworms. So that's a win-win-win-win to me. Okay, so hope that was helpful. If you have any other questions about this or any of the other things we have going on here at the Grow To Gather Homestead, let me know. And as always, I hope you'll take today's chance to grow together. Have a good one.